What's up, passionate Pokemon players? I'm Ryan, and we're here for another episode of the Hawks Pokemon Nest. This time we're going to get into some more Team Rocket's Pokemon. I've got the Team Rocket's Mewtwo deck. So we're going to get into each card in the deck, why I included it, and then we'll go through the strategy on how to play the deck, including the strengths and weaknesses, and finally we'll go through some other cards to consider swapping in. So let's get into it. Alright, here we are. We've got the deck list up. We've, of course, got the Mewtwo up first as well. So Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX. So he's a basic Pokemon with 280 HP. That's crazy. That's like power creep to the max in this game. We're seeing 280 HP basic. That's pretty wild, okay? But then you notice that he does have an ability, which is an ability per se. If I can get my both on. Anyway, Power Saver. This Pokemon can't attack unless you have 4 or more Team Rocket's Pokemon in play. So you've got to get on your bench him plus, well, you've got to get him inactive plus 3 more on your bench at least in order for Mewtwo to be able to attack. But then he has Erasure Ball, 160 damage, and you can discard up to 2 energy from your bench Pokemon, and it does 60 more for each card you discard it in this way. Sounds familiar. Reminds me of the Mewtwo V-Star, but it's pretty similar, but almost exactly the same, to be honest. So anyway, what else do we got in here in order to allow our Mewtwo to attack? Well, we're going to go with the Rocket's Tarountula and Spidops, right? So the Team Rocket's Tarountula, 50 HP, takedown 10 to itself, and 30 damage. There's no other option but to play it, but really we want the Spidops. And I'm a fan of Spidops. One of the new Pokemon that I actually think is pretty funny and cool. I did make my Spidops EX deck many moons ago almost, it seems now. But this one just goes perfectly with the Mewtwo because one, it's a Team Rocket's Pokemon, so you could put 2 of them on your bench and have a Mewtwo, and then we've got 4. Alright, but its ability is Charging Up. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So it just works perfectly. Erasure Ball, you have to discard up to 2 from your bench Pokemon, and it does 60 more. So then you just use Charging Up to get them back. So if you've got 2 of them, you discard 1 from each Spidops. Boom, you just put them back, and we have a net 0 in terms of energy, and a net KO for your opponent's Pokemon. And interestingly enough, we have Rocket Rush. So it's attack. It does need 2 energy, but it's not bad. This attack does 30 damage for each of your Team Rocket's Pokemon in play. So that one as well. So let's say you have those 4. 3 times 4 is going to do 120 damage in a pinch. If you could fill up to 5, then you can get to 150. So I've actually gotten wins a few times in a pinch with this move. Because also remember, Charging Up, the cool thing is it doesn't have to be on the bench. So if somebody puts him inactive, you can either attach from hand and then Charging Up from your discard to retreat him, or if they put him up, or you could just use Rocket Rush and hopefully get a KO. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, what's next? So what's my draw engine for the thing here? Because we need those energies in discard, right? So I've got my favorite draw engine of this era, Spinning Draw for 10. No, I'm just playing. That's not our draw engine. It's Revavroom. Revavroom is going to be our draw engine. So Rumbling Engine, its ability, discard an energy from your hand, and once during your turn you draw till you have 6 in hand. So not bad at all. It does need 2 to retreat, so that's unfortunate. But you know what's interesting? I haven't actually had one opponent yet boss this guy up, which I think is just coincidence. They really try to boss up the Spidops and KO them because they don't want me to be able to attack, which is a solid strategy in theory. But now let's go through the trainer cards. So first off, we don't have Buddy Buddy Poppin' for once because we don't need it here necessarily. So I've got Earthen Vessels though. I did throw in 3 Earthen Vessels. We want to be able to find those energies and either discard them, attach them, whatever we got to do. Okay, so we're going to go Earthen Vessels. Nest Ball is what I went with because we want to be able to get Mewtwo out in addition to our Varoom and our Tarountula. and then some Night Stretchers, tried and true. We want to go with 4 of those. It gives us some flexibility. Do I want the Mewtwo? Do I whatever we want to get back, including energy? And Pokégear 3.0, becoming one of my favorite cards now. I think I really overlooked this card, and now maybe I'm going the other way. But, you know, considering we've got a lot of good Team Rockets cards in here, we want to be able to pull those. And really, like, when it comes down to it, as many options for swarming our bench as possible. I know a Poffin is there as well, but we also have the Team Rockets Proton that we'll get into. We have the Team Rockets Archer if our Pokemon's knocked out. You know, boss's orders. And then we've got Secret Box as our ace spec. Now, I don't know. I like this one so far. I've been using it a lot. But some may say that it may not be worth it, right? You discard 3 cards from your hand, and then we search for an item, a tool, a supporter, and a stadium card, right? Then shuffle our deck. I don't have any stadium cards. Is it still worth it? I mean, I think so. I do have tools, items, and supporters, and it really helps me get set up and get rid of cards that I don't need. Maybe I've already got a couple of my Spidops on bench, my Revrooms. I could just get rid of those cards in hand. It really helps because one good thing about this deck, about this card, is it helps me discard, which, you know, sometimes I want to get under 6 in order to be able to use my rumbling engine. So that's why I like it too. Ultra Ball, kind of dual reason too, helps me discard while at the same time grab a Revavroom or a Spidops. Boss's orders at 3. Brock Scouting is one I like, giving me the option of either going with 1 evolution or 2 basics. Again, just get our bench ready. Like, this deck is really revolving around like getting these Pokemon on bench because we need to do so as quickly as possible. We can load up our Mewtwo quickly and get him energies, and then he can't attack until I get 4. So we want that. Team Rocket's Archer, I just love, is like Iono on steroids. The downside is you can only use it if one of our Pokemon is knocked out, but getting them down to 3 and us 5 is just solid. It's actually kind of like an unfair stamp, but maybe a Dollar Tree unfair stamp. And then Team Rocket's Proton, this is why I always want to go first, hoping that I draw into this card. We can search for up to 3 basic Team Rocket's Pokemon. If I start off with the Team Rocket's Pokemon, hopefully a Mewtwo is inactive, and then I got that, boom, I'm good to go. I just need to start loading up my Mewtwo on energy and he can attack. Bravery Charm, I really love this Bravery Charm. I'm going to go with 3 of them. A lot of this stuff, I'm not talking about the numbers that I've got, but you could check the description if this is too small for you up on the left hand side of the screen. I've got the whole deck list, okay? Now, Bravery Charm, basic Pokemon gets 50 HP. Now, our Mewtwo is up to 330 HP. Like, what in the world is that for a basic Pokemon? I really love that. Perfect. And then we'll go into our energy. Of course, we have 4 Team Rockets energy. It gives us 2 of either Psychic or Dark. Of course, our Mewtwo needs them to be Psychic. Then I did actually throw in the 2 basic Grass energy so that my Spidops can attack in a pinch if he needs to. And then I'm going to go with 4 of the Psychic energy. So I've got a total of 10 energy in the deck, which seems to work out pretty fine for me. Strategy, strengths, and weaknesses of the deck. First off, we want to get the Rockets Proton, right? We want to get the Rockets Proton is strategy. I mean, it's not always an option turn 1, but if we go first, hopefully you draw into that or a Pokégear so that we can just load up that bench. And then rev your engines. Your next step, once you get all of your Rockets Pokemon, whether it's from the Proton or other means, is getting your Varoom into a Revavroom so that you've got yourself your draw engine and a way to get your energies in discard. And then from there, you ever watched that show Rocket Power as a kid? I did. That's my generation. So then we're going to go with Rocket Power, Team Rocket's Mewtwo, Team Rocket's Spidops on the bench so that you can discard and just re-add. And we're moving here. We've got a, hopefully, if we get the Bravery Charm, a 330 basic Pokemon hitting for 280 every turn. right? The strengths, it does have really powerful setup and kind of quick setup if you draw into the right cards, right? We've got Pokégear to increase those chances of getting that Proton, and the Proton gets us 3. And then from there, we just have to worry about evolving our Spidops so that we can get the energy. But remember, even if you don't evolve into the Spidops, and let's say they don't have any energy attached, we're still going to be able to hit for 160 without discarding energy. So that is what I like about this ability. You can at least do damage without discarding. So sometimes it may take a couple turns, but especially early in the game, if you can get set up on turn 2 by getting a Rocket's energy into a Psychic or whatever else you need, then boom, we're good to go, and we could just start knocking out basic Pokemon of our opponents if they can't evolve quickly enough, especially when we go first. Like, that's why we want to go first, because energy, they go first, they've still got basics, and then we can hit for 160 and just start knocking out. It's really nice. The thin and draw from there is the strength of it, right? There's a lot of cards that are drawing multiples from our deck, whether it's the Proton, whether it's the Earthen Vessel, even the Brock Scouting if we can get the basics. We're going to thin out that deck, discarding energy and drawing up to 6 every turn. As long as you can keep that hand size down enough to make a difference, then we're doing pretty well. And then it's really tough to disrupt this deck in many ways. I mean, the only real way is obviously your opponent hitting our bench, which, you know, who can't disrupt that this time anyway, or around this era anyway, right? Now there are some weaknesses. Hand locking can be an issue if you just draw into like a bunch of bad unusable cards in hand, and then you can't use Rumbling Engine to get down, or you can't even get to the point of getting your Rumbling Engine going. That's the downside of having a stage 1 as our draw engine, you know, RIP to Radiant Greninja, is that, you know, if you're stuck at 6, or if you're stuck not having the cards to, like, an Ultra Ball is really our only way to get the Revavroom, it can be a struggle sometimes. This deck is kind of like a freight train. While there are ways of getting it set up really quickly, it does need a lot to really go. Like, I gave you an ideal scenario of knocking out a basic turn 2, but if it takes you 3 or 4 turns to get set up, that's usually what it takes, right? We need to get 4 Rockets Pokemon, we need to get 3 energy attached to our Mewtwo, we need to get the Spidops evolved, and then we need our draw engine. So we need a lot to get going. The way that the deck works is it does thin it out to help, but sometimes this deck kind of operates more like a freight train, where it takes a little bit to get going, and then once it's going, though, it's pretty unstoppable. So that's nice. So if that can be a weakness, though, because it can take a while. And then the final thing is that I've seen a lot when testing this deck, there's a lot of dark Pokemon right now. I think a lot of people are trying to counter Gardevoir. I'm seeing way more than ever of the Hydreigons. So that's unfortunate. Those matchups are like really hard to win. Obviously Charizard EX is still a thing as well, so it can be a struggle, because no matter what, like, these guys, it doesn't matter if your Mewtwo has 330 HP, like, they're one-shotting him. You know, they're gonna one-shot him, and that's 2 prize cards. So the dark decks are really hard to counter. I think maybe I've beaten a Charizard deck, but I don't know if I've beaten any of the Hydreigon decks. You've really got to, like, just take them out before they can get evolved and energied up. I think I won one, but anyway, hopefully we don't face one when we do our demoing. And let's talk about some other cards to consider swapping into the deck. First off is the Team Rocket's Articuno. Prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to your basic Team Rocket's Pokemon. This one, I really want to put this one in as a one of. It's another one where I think it's pretty important, and funnily enough, maybe I'll do so when I do the demo, just like I did with another of the Rockets Pokemon decks. Was it the Weezings? I don't know. But I feel like I did swap it in. The only reason that I'm not is that we've got a crowded bench here. You know, you always want at least one Mewtwo ready to go, and then I want 2 of the Rockets Spidops, and then a Revavroom. So that's already 4 bench spots. I mean, the Articuno would be fine. We would get there. But you know what I would really prefer is just another Mewtwo on the bench so that I've got all 3. But maybe early on, this is something that I'm going to put out until my first Mewtwo gets knocked out. You know, then you know, we don't need to put a 3rd one on bench after that because we've only got 6 prize cards. So it's something to think about. It's also like considering like what am I going to take out, but it would protect our Mewtwo's from being hit by effects, and then also would protect our Tarountulas until they get evolved. I mean, they do only have 50 HP, so a Dragapult KOs them immediately, whereas the Articuno, because I believe that would protect against the Dragapult, will protect them until they're evolved. So it's something to think about. I may want to swap that one in, right? Then from there is Arven, like maybe an Arven over the Archers, just to kind of speed this deck up even more. Sometimes I am caught with the Archers in hand for like many turns until I get a knockout, and I'm like, ugh, would have been nice to just, you know, get something that's usable for now. But I don't know, I really like it, and I don't know what I would take out for it. Kieran or even a Switch is always something to consider. This deck, the only reason I'm not is because like we can just energize them. Like they're usually not going to trap. They're not going to trap a Mewtwo despite its 3 retreat cost. We've got the Spidops are easy to get, so really the only thing we have to worry about is the Revavroom, which can be an issue, but maybe not. Carmine's another one to think about since we want to go first. Let's say maybe we don't pull the Proton. If we did pull a Kieran, it gives us options in there. So it's also something to think about maybe over the Archer, because it does get us out of a bad hand without having to discard everything. But I just like the disruption. The Team Rocket's Great Ball is a card that I had in the initial iteration of the deck. Just another way of like making sure that I'm pulling the Pokemon that I need. The thing is, I need is in quotations because we may not get what we need. You know, maybe I need an evolution and I flip to get a basic, you know, things like that. So I removed it. I felt like I needed some other stuff in there. And in fact, I replaced it for the Earthen Vessels. Rockets Factory is another one to think about with all of the Rockets cards that I have, considering I may use a Proton or I may use an Archer. I just couldn't really fit it in. And also like the draw 2 cards, I don't know, do we need that? We've got Revavroom getting us up to 6 every turn. In terms of ace specs, maybe thinking about a Hero's Cape. You know, it's nice having a 330 HP Mewtwo when he's got the Bravery Charm. But you know what's even better? 380 HP Mewtwo. So that's one to think about, but I don't know, not a big fan. I think the 330 is quite enough. The only time it's bad it still is against Dark, and even 380 HP is not going to save you. Now finally, the Max Belt is one that I'd also consider, you know, with all these stage 2s HP being about 320 to 330, this would give us 280 plus that. If we had discard 2, 330 is going to one-shot a Charizard, a Dragapult and things. So this one's actually one to really think about. You know what, as I think, this is another one as I think about now, like, do I want to swap this during my demoing of the deck? It's funny, whenever I talk about him out loud, it's like, when I think about him in my theory crafting, I don't. But anyway, well, yeah, as I mentioned, that's going to do it for this episode of the Hawks Pokemon Nest. Let me know in the comments what you think. Should I swap for the Max Belt over the Secret Box? Something to think about, as well as should I throw in the Team Rocket's Articuno. The more I think about both of them, the more I think it may really help this deck out, but we'll see. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button and become part of the Hawks Nest, a fearless flock of fabulous folks who love to do what we love. I love making these decks and testing them. Stay tuned for Friday, where we will put this deck to the test on TCG Live and see if we can get some wins. But until then, we'll see you next time.